Thank you very much. I wait for another 60 seconds or so. So I'm usually the party pooper when it's about AI, because I'm a little bit skeptical when it comes to cyborgs and AI and Terminators. But actually, I like to start to introduce my background to you. So I'm a neuroscientist. I dissected brains out of animals a few years ago. I did it at the Chicago Medical School. And when you have such a dissected brain in your hand, it would dive in 3 to 4 minutes because there's no blood supply. So my task was to put those living brains into dishes with artificial blood and keep those brains alive for a few more days. It looked a little bit like at Frankenstein's office. And my task was to put electrodes into the visual nerves and connect those living brains put in those dishes directly over wires with a mobile robot. This is what you see here. And then the robot moved around and fed the video camera recordings directly over those wires into those brains sitting in those dishes there. And this is actually where my research started. Now, if you were that brain or I was the brain, and all of a sudden, instead of your biological eyes or your glasses, you have wires here, you of course would like to do something with your body. But the problem was the body was just cut away. So the only thing that looked out of the brain was a little bit of spinal cord, like where the output of the brain is. So I inserted again 2 electrodes and fed the output of the brain back to the wheels of this robot. And this was in the year 2000, 2001, one of the very first cyborgs, the connection between a machine and a living brain. And why do I tell you that right after lunch? I mean, here actually is where this journey started, because on the left side, this is reality. This is a completely blind guy. He has degenerated visual nerves. And researchers put them video cameras on the glasses and fed the camera inputs directly to the brain. This is possible since more than 20 years. I mean, this guy wasn't able to see perfectly afterwards, but at least he was able to discern objects or could detect movements. On the right side, this is Matrix. That's completely science fiction. And although I would love to have directly fed in my iPhone or my computer into my spinal cord, this is not yet possible. So please be aware what is science, what is science fiction, and it's also a bit dedicated when I talk about these topics, because it's not so clear and it's a little bit blurry what is possible these days and whatnot. So I'm actually getting nervous when my iPhone is too far away. It's actually here. It's like my third half of the brain. And what I learned in my biology classes is that human beings are best able to memorize 3 things. So I like to share with you 3 take-home messages, and if you can memorize 1 or 2 of those, I'm done and my mission is completed for today, because these are important messages to me. So first thing is, there is no AI yet. So beware of the hype. That's the first message I like to share with you. Then the second message is, actually, who knows about deep learning? Please quickly raise your hands. Okay, then maybe we can skip that, because I think deep learning is not so relevant when it comes to AI. I will explain that to you. And then my favorite topic, let us become cyborgs. We need to embrace latest technology, otherwise we get completely irrelevant. So I have to be very careful when I say there is no AI, because the Google CEO just stated it's an AI-first world. So I need to explain to you why I believe that. And let me give an example. I studied at the Artificial Intelligence Lab in Switzerland, in Zurich. And in the year 1995, I talked to the professor there, and I wanted to see the most advanced robot they had in 1995. And this was the most advanced robot in Switzerland. This guy looks a little bit like a coffee machine on wheels. And this robot was able to detect walls or chairs, or actually so evaded obstacles. 15 years later, we took a human skeleton and inserted directly motors, and the goal was to build humanoid, human-like looking robots. And this, called Roboy, is one of the cutest robots in the world, because Roboy is able to show emotions. Actually, it's completely fake, because there's a projector in the inner part of the head, and then you can actually show red cheeks, and Roboy can even show tears. And he has thousands of Facebook friends, because people believe this is a truly intelligent robot. Actually, I built Roboy. I know he's not intelligent, it's just a machine. But okay, and the question is, where will we be 15 years later from now? I mean, it's very impressive when I look at these advancements. And I like to share a story with you. 250 years ago, they already built robots that looked like human beings. These guys you can visit in Switzerland, in Neuchâtel. There was where the watch industry took off. And these robots are able to play the piano, or able to to write a letter. There is even an artificial duck able to hatch like an egg. So this is possible since more than 250 years. And the question is it really a big difference if you take like Osimo Honda robot, put in like an engine inside, or whether you take such a machine here and you have like watch inside, like those clockworks? Qualitatively, we haven't advanced much because they're still looking like humans, but inside, just like mechanics. And I like to share a story with you about what is AI, like true artificial intelligence, and was it a little bit fake, like with human insight? And there was a famous movement also about 200 years ago where there was this chess Turk. And the chess Turk here was a machine, actually artificial intelligent machine, which was able to beat every human being in chess. And this is a famous painting where even Napoleon lost against the chess Turk 200 years ago. Now, the issue was a little bit, when you look at this slide here, there were like little humans inside. So, not so much about AI, but it took them 84 years, when you look here, to figure out that this was completely fake. So, and then actually after 84 years, they burned this chess Turk, and this was 200 years. So now, when you're imagining, how many years do we already have the AI hype of today? Is it 20 years? Is it 30 years? So maybe we find out that a lot of what is coined like AI inside is just like fake, or actually it's a little bit cheated. And what I would summarize today's state of AI is, it's often nothing more than tinned human thoughts, meaning there is a smart programmer somewhere putting his entire intelligence into source code and boxes his human intelligence, and then we call it AI. I mean, that's a little bit cheated, right? I'm interested in true AI. I'm not interested just in condensed human intelligence and then showing it off and saying it's AI, it's AI. So therefore, I like you to be able to challenge the notion about AI. I'm not so sure when Terminators will knock on our doors, but actually in AI, principally, we haven't advanced a lot these days. Okay, second, the message, and maybe I do that very quickly for you guys because I'm not so much into deep learning. Actually, I don't like deep learning, and I explain to you why I don't like that. Just quickly, AI is since 1950, there is this term AI. Since about 1980s, there is the term machine learning, like the first computers. They were able to cope with a lot of data. And about 2010, there was this term deep learning. And to cut a long story short, if you need 300 million pictures of cats in order to say it's a horse, a cow, or a cat, I don't consider that very intelligent, right? Intelligent to me would be small data. You look at one cat, you extract the principle. This is actually also how newborn or like little children learn. They do not need to have 300 million samples of cats. So therefore, it's brute force statistics, although it's very impressive. I mean, if you see a Tesla running for millions of kilometers, that's really impressive, but it's just like statistics. I mean, you can do that on an Excel sheet if the Excel sheet is big enough. Therefore, I'm a little bit skeptical what deep learning has got to do with AI. And yeah, so there were like huge hype about machines beating human beings. And just I like to share this one here to you. When you read that, the Navy just revealed an electronic computer able to walk, talk, and even be conscious of its existence. Looks like a news of today. But actually, this was a news from 1958, where the very first artificial neural network was presented. And to just give you like a quick crash course about artificial neural networks, because the newspapers are filled with artificial neural networks, you have an input layer. These are numbers like 1 to 1,000 or whatever. Then you have weights, let's say 0.3. The net input function just collects all those inputs, let's say 0.3, 0.4, and then you have an activation function saying, whenever the value is above 10, I send a 1, and whenever the value is below 10, I send a 0. That's an artificial neural network. And let's now compare how it looks like today, those artificial neural networks. And today you can put in like age, income, employment, and you get out like married, single, or completely broke. This is actually the neural networks as of today. And I do like a quick comparison for you. 1957, this machine was 110 tons, a huge computer able to operate the very first artificial neural network, like called perceptron. And then add 6 years of research, trillions of cash, and 10 to the power of 12 more computing power. And what you get are those deep learning neural networks. And what is the difference here there are a few more hidden layers here, but that's about it. Therefore, from a neuroscientific viewpoint, it's a little bit frustrating how little we know, and that most people still assume that the brain is just a fast computer. And if you build like faster computers, you're getting closer and closer to intelligence. There is even this notion of singularity. And that's a little bit dangerous, because a few hundred years ago, people thought in the brain there are like little pumps and wheels. There were even like those pictures of brains. Today we have pictures of brains looking like computers. Please do not commit this error. The brain is not a computer. And yeah, so I love human brains, of course. I could now do a neuroscience crash course in case you're interested. But just like the interesting part is, if you like to build artificial birds, it's not a smart strategy to copy-paste a bird, because they did that a few hundred years ago. They built those wooden machines. They never took off. And today, the neuroscientists, they actually committed the same error. They want to build artificial human brains. And then there are those huge brain projects that you maybe know from the news, and they all horribly failed. So it was Leonardo da Vinci who figured out that actually to build an artificial bird, just the wing profile is relevant, and it's completely irrelevant whether there are feathers or blood or bones flowing through to the wings. And this is what we should actually focus on, to extract the principles and not trying to stupidly copying brains. That's completely pointless. Okay. The third message I like to share with you. We should become cyborgs. And I want to tell you why that we should become cyborgs. Because in a world where machines and robots take over and a lot of people lose their jobs, those people that stay in the game, that are still having jobs in those companies, they are extremely important, because otherwise you would be able to replace them, right? So you should make them faster, smarter, better, because why should I hire a human being if I could hire a machine? Therefore, we need to embrace technology. And I know a few German CEOs that I would love to give this T-shirt, because those people tell me, yeah, we know we should do something, it's digital revolution taking place, but actually we just can't. It's not the time right now, maybe in 5 years from now. And I spend about 40% of my time in New York and in the Silicon Valley. I'm often shocked when I come back to Europe. So please, you are the ones that could trigger a little bit here the movement. Try to embrace latest technology, otherwise we get completely irrelevant. Okay, and then the question is, in what team are you playing? Are you playing in the team robot, or are you playing in the team human? I'm actually playing in the team human. I want to make humans better, smarter, faster. And this is actually also what our company is doing, Starmind. Starmind builds artificial brains for companies. And what I actually would love is to have a lens on my eye. And whenever you ask me something, you say, Pascal Kaufman is such a smart person. He knows almost everything. But actually, I just have a teleprompter here that tells me exactly what I should say, and you're not even aware of that. So I would love to be able to think with the power of 1,000 brains, and I would love not to need to learn which Roman killed which other Roman a few thousand years ago. I mean, that's completely pointless if you have such a system on your eye, and human beings need to be able to ask questions. We have to completely change the educational system when you think about this revolution here. Then a problem that we have as a human, our brains are a little bit like linear. I would say they develop linear. I haven't talked with you about the slope, whether it points upwards or like sidewards or even southwards, but the machines definitely take up exponentially. So if we do not embrace technology, we will just be outpaced, and I think we should do something against that. And therefore, I do not believe that we will walk around with HoloLens or with those lenses around. I believe that we will have little lenses that you actually don't even notice, so that we can access information with the power of 1,000 brains at the same time. So let me share with you Human Worker 2.0. The Human Worker 2.0 will talk to his corporate brain, so that you can imagine what this means. You have like huge brains in large corporations that are artificial. And whenever you kind of ask a question as a human being, the brain tells you, stop, stop, stop. You don't even have to ask that. This has already been asked. Here is already the solution. So these kind of technologies are in use these days. I call it the Human Worker 2.0. Human Worker 3.0 embraces technology. I would love to have my iPhone attached to me, because I lost it so many times already. So I think technology comes closer and closer, and I think this will be Human Worker 3.0. And the Human Worker 4.0 will just be a robot. I mean, I could well imagine a world where I don't need to work, a world without jobs. There are a lot of leisure activities. There are many planets and stars we could discover. So I think we should give the jobs and the stupid work to robots and focus on the more interesting stuff. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Pascal. That was amazing. Yeah. Cool. Kind of a bit. So we probably have time for one question, one really quick question. Anyone got a burning question on their mind?
And I don't have a lens on my eyes. Please be very...
Now's the time to ask it.
Don't be nasty, please.
They're in the middle. Go for it. It's going to throw the box at you. Ready, set. It's all right. It's really soft. Go for it.
Hi, that was a great talk, by the way. I was just wondering, do you think we'll see kind of large advances if we do move towards more quantum computing? Do you think that allows us to actually start doing AI correctly?
In order to crack the brain code, you do not need quantum computers. I think there might be huge advances if you understand better the principle of the brain. I actually have no clue about quantum computers. I find it very, very complicated. Maybe that is like 20, 30 years ahead from now. Cracking the brain code could be 2 or 3 years from now. If we crack that, the world will look completely different. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. That was the last question. Have fun.